Welcome to Cancer Chat with Michelle from Big Valley Living and Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook. Today, two survivors will be talking about their journey with cancer. Let's go to the chat. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Cancer Chat with Michelle, and I'm Tom. Michelle, how
Hi
you doing
there.
this morning?
I'm good, Tom. How are you today?
I can't complain. Nobody will listen. The I think what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about our aftermath of our surgeries. Okay, what was the unexpected? Let's put it that way. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't actually know. They said, "Well, we'll go in, we'll take care of this, we'll get that out, and then go on from there." But the complications afterwards, the little things that
Mhm.
actually were much bigger than what we thought. So, if you want to take the lead on this one, and
Sure. So, I my first surgery was November 17th of 2017. Could have been
Mhm.
the 16th. Wow, I'm actually forgetting, and this is a good thing. And I went in for surgery. My surgery, sorry, I don't have any pictures, but mine was done mostly laparoscopically using a machine called the Da Vinci. And I'll bring some images into it, or maybe in just a different one where I can focus on it. But essentially, it's this really big robot that comes up over you in the operating room, and they don't put you under until you're situated in there now. At least that's been my experience. So you go in and you see the room that they're going to be doing the surgery in. And the doctor, explained how the machine works. It has like five claws that come down and they actually puncture into your stomach. And then it's a robot. So the doctor will work the robot to do all of the things inside. And this is instead of opening your entire abdomen up. So it's much less invasive, even though it's super major surgery. And
Mhm.
then they do one small incision, traditional incision, to pull out whatever diseased material is going to be pulled from your body.
Wow.
So I ended up with like five punctures in my stomach, sutures, and they aren't even this big. I mean, they're super, super tiny. And then an incision about yay wide. So really very not as invasive as it could have been. And so they go in and do that. I think the surgery lasted about 4 hours. And I think we talked about it before. My surgeon didn't know if I was going to end up with a bag or if she was going to be able to do what's called a resection, which is essentially taking out the diseased part of the colon.
Hmm.
And I should, in case somebody's just popping in new, I have stage 4 colon cancer, so colorectal cancer. And so she wasn't sure, what stage are we at, that type of thing. And she wasn't sure how much would have to be taken out and how everything would end up. So I had to be prepared that I may have a bag, um, or be reconnected all within my body. Well, when I woke up, she had a big smile on her face because it was a resection and it was very successful. So I did not have a bag, and my body just needed time to heal. So this was all really good news. She also was confident that she got everything. So she's not a believer in pain meds. She likes to keep them to a minimum to make sure that you don't, rely on those meds. So you start healing right away. And so I got my last dose of whatever those good drugs are in the recovery room when I woke up. And then when they were getting ready to take me to my room, it was starting to wear off, and I didn't realize her style. So I'm thinking, I'm going to go through the pain of them getting up to my room, and then they're going to give me a happy shot, and I can just relax for a while. That was not the case in my in my experience. So I got upstairs and I'm like, okay, when am I going to get the shot? And they said, oh, there's no shot here. We're going to give you, I think I got a co-Tylenol sort of a thing. There might have been a teeny bit of codeine in it or something, but
Hmm.
not, not what they give you right after surgery. And then I was also told that I would be up and walking. She came in, and I would be up and walking within 1 hour of getting up into my room.
Wow.
So, um, it really worked. Hey, we have Christine, Mrs. Gilliam
Hello,
Farms in. Hi, Christine.
Christine.
Thank you for
Hello.
coming in. This is the pop-up for us here. So, uh, so I ended up getting up and walking. I think I took a whopping 10 steps. I made it to the door and back. And then I just started walking, walking, walking because this was the week before Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
This was a Friday. I had my surgery on Thursday morning at 6 o'clock. That's when it was scheduled. And I did not want to spend the weekend in the hospital. So I started doing everything I possibly could. And I ended up um, going in and doing all the things I had to do, walk, walk, walk further and further and further in the hospital. And I got to go home 36 hours after having major surgery.
Oh,
So
wow.
I got there at 6 a.m. and I on a Thursday and I left at 6 p. I was sitting in my house at 6 p.m. Friday afternoon or evening.
Nice.
So
That's that's
yeah,
when
go
the
ahead.
fun that's when the fun begins, isn't it? When you get
That
home.
is actually when the fun began because in the hospital you have a bed that will lower and raise for you, and it makes life so much easier. And you don't realize it till you get home how spoiled you are by those things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you this really fun thing because if anybody has any abdominal surgery, you got to have your doctor give you one of these. And it's like a girdle. Kids, a girdle is what our great grandmothers used to wear to keep their tummies in check. But it's adjustable and it just goes around your abdomen. It looks like underwear. It's not supposed to. There. And it has Velcro so you can tighten it and loosen it as comfort would, you need. And obviously I kept it because you never know.
Sure.
But it keeps everything, nice and tucked in there so that because after you have surgery on your abdomen, things just kind of flop around, right? And
Yeah.
that makes it more painful. So I had to learn. I'm gonna tell you what I had to learn, and then I want to go to you.
Sure. Go
Um,
ahead. No problem.
when we got home, I had to learn how to get in and out of our bed, and we are tall people, so our bed is about 40 inches off the ground. So there's a little bit of a climb on my part because my inseam is not as high as my husband's. And I had to learn how to roll over and get out of bed just so that I could get in and out of bed. But that little girdle thing that I have, and I don't know what it's really called, it was a lifesaver.
Yeah. I can
So
imagine.
that was my first hurdle, getting in and out of bed at home and to so I could move around and get my exercise.
Yeah. When what they did, this sometimes comes back to me, and it's like, whoa. Uh, After the first surgery that I had, it was kind of now everybody. I don't know if new here or whatever. I had bladder cancer. All right, I had many tumors over 3 years taken out. I had 8 surgeries and 18 tumors taken out of my bladder. The end result was to find out whether they were going to take my bladder or not. After maybe the fifth or sixth surgery that I had, they told me to get my affairs in order. That was the wake up call, and I better pay attention about what's going on. But the learning curve. Okay, all right, they're going to go in. They're going to take these tumors out, and I thought that's it. Go home, and well, I was in the hospital 48 hours with it because I wouldn't stop bleeding.
Mm.
Uh, and so what they do is they go up in through the penis with a scope, light, and they have a hook on it that actually they burn them off. And the whole thing I had a whole setup of pictures here, but I'm not going to try to find them now, of how it's done. And what they do is they go in and they'll find it and they'll burn it off and then somehow or another they try to collect it to bring it out. Well, not knowing that, and waking up, and I had a bag. They had attached a catheter to me, and this thing was being emptied probably every 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. They would have to come in and empty it. And the first time I seen it, it was, I don't want to disgust anybody, but it was a little bloody, and it just, I couldn't understand why why they were doing that, because actually they didn't tell me. So
Oh, so mentally, that really that
that,
you don't know what to think.
because today, the last I heard from them was that if they take my bladder, then I'm going to need a bag. They didn't discuss how they were going to do this. So,
Hmm.
well, that was the first part of it. My wife Marie was with me throughout the whole thing, and here's the lighter side of this was um, driving home. She had to drive, and the we all back roads, because it was like an hour and a half trip away from our house from where they did the surgery in the hospital, and all the back roads. I'm in the car and I'm leaning back in it because I couldn't sit straight up because of the catheter, and I couldn't see exactly where she was going, but at one point I knew we were airborne because she went over a railroad track. And Marie's crying as she's driving. She's crying. Oh, I'm sorry. Boom! We hit with the car. Anyway, getting home. Like I said, little farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. The thing was laying down with the bag on, sitting
Even
up,
at home.
even at home.
Hmm.
I'm six
Well,
foot,
because
and
your catheter would move, wouldn't it,
yeah, yeah.
with every one of your movements?
And then I was bleeding so much because what they did the first surgery, he said they found a couple tumors, but they actually found six and took six out. So in your bladder, it looks like follicles, like you're like this floating like that. So in this part here of these little follicles that are in there, I guess they're like filters, I would imagine.
Hmm.
That's where the tumors were, and they were at the top of my bladder, up on the top, and that's one of the worst places for it because getting to them and
Hmm.
taking them out, they puncture up on top, then it's game's over. But getting up to walk or anything like that, I was a basket case. It was horrible. And where we lived, getting up the stairs to get into the house, it was like,
Oh God,
yeah,
we
yeah.
only have two steps. Thank God.
So I had that catheter in me for almost 2 weeks, and I go back to the doctor, and they take it out, and it was like, oh, thank you.
So
Until I
you
had a
have
year.
that long drive then again
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
bumpy roads from your house to the hospital
Yeah,
or the doctor.
and I'm kind of modest with it. That you know what I mean. I've seen guys that walk around with the bag strapped to their leg. They have what they call a travel bag that they strap to your leg, and it's that that's not me. I'm pretty modest when it comes to that kind of stuff. So we get back to the doctor, and they take this thing out, and how this thing works is, as when the tube goes in, okay, it has bubbles on it that they fill with air, and once it gets into the spot, it fills it up, and then the bubble opens up, okay, and that holds
Mhm.
it in there.
Oh,
Well, they took that out, and he said, the doctor said, Tom, this may this may burn a little bit. Burn. I had a 5 alarm fire going on. So just trying to get around. But once they took it out, the problem with going to urinate, especially if you're out or anything like that, it was torture. So we didn't go anywhere. I just couldn't do anything. But moving around, I was getting better with it.
mhm.
Uh, and then all of a sudden, blood clots. I started having problems with
And
blood
that's
clots.
natural, right?
Yeah,
As your body's healing.
yeah. And actually, what some of the stuff that they couldn't get out was still floating around in there.
Mm.
So some of them tumors and stuff like that, or the little parts of it when they burnt it off, whatever, and that would block me from urinating. I had to go back an hour and a half drive back up for them to insert another catheter in, and I had that in for 3 or 4 more days. So it wasn't explained to me, and I don't know how they could have. Michelle.
Had
Honestly,
they explained it, would it have changed your perspective? And do you think it would have possibly prevented you from making ultimately what was the right decision, which was to go ahead and go through with it?
yeah, no, no, it wouldn't have changed it. I had to get it done because I was at the
Okay.
point. I was at the point where, you know what, this is, you know, I don't know what else to do. The turning point was for me to understand it a lot better is when they told me to get my affairs in order.
That's
And
got to
that,
be the scariest thing
yeah,
ever.
yeah. And then going back, I know we're talking about our first surgery, but this all links together. The second time I went in for the surgery was now I knew what to expect. You know, with the bag, the whole bit. And but then it progressively got worse because then I was starting to have what they call when your body undulates, your bladder, your also your intestines, they
Hmm.
all do this undulation. Okay, it's constantly moving. That's how you get it fills up with water and it gets to the point where it can't undulate no more, and that's when you urinate,
Yeah.
and then everything starts going back again. I lost that sensation.
So you didn't really even know.
Mm-mm. No,
Oh my.
yeah. Even with the catheter, I didn't know that I was urinating.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of crazy. So, but and then dealing family members, you know, my wife Marie. I tell you what, uh, I love her so much for this because she was right there. She didn't turn her back on nothing. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember waking up every surgery when she's right there in that chair.
Yep.
But to to expect somebody to go through that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and
And
then
they have no control over it. JJ was the same way. JJ was he was the last, I mean, last family member, but he was the last person I saw before they wheeled me into the surgical area. And he was the first person I would see after, staff would wake me up every single time.
Mhm.
And I think that that plays a lot into our healing process as well. Knowing that we have somebody, and then if you're not married or, whatever, even if you are and your spouse or your significant other can't stomach that or something, because some people really do have a hard time being able to deal with certain things, right? But if you've got that person in your life that you trust and that they are able to do that for you, that is the biggest gift ever.
Yeah.
It's too much for one. I know that we're strong enough to go through it now, but to have somebody to talk to or even a shoulder to cry on, if you're in pain.
the the one thing that got me was talking to the doctor. Now you know I was a veteran. I went through the one surgery, and I asked him why. Why are they coming back? Why do they keep coming back? Am I doomed? And this and that. So you start getting into that cycle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, you had that rap to hold yourself in.
Mhm.
I had nothing for this. So now the next step would have been kidneys. Okay, so when I first was diagnosed, they also said I have a tumor inside my kidney. Okay, and well, it's pretty common. They told me,
That would
and
scare me.
oh, I still have it. I mean, the last I had it
Really?
checked, it was yeah. Last time I checked, it was like 3.5 centimeters.
And so their whole thing is as long as it doesn't change,
Right.
as long as it doesn't change.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. Exactly. So um, now I'm understanding how this is going to work. I go in. It's not the right spot that I would pick. You know what I mean? To to
We
have all
laugh
this.
about it now, everybody. We do laugh about it now because it's a memory now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it isn't as humorous, although you need to find some humor every now and again.
And the next step was the medications that they were putting me on. Going
Uh-huh.
home. Now, back before Cipro was bad, I would get a 2 week, 14-day supply of Cipro to take for infections because we are all of us are prone to UTIs,
Mhm.
and so I was eating these Cipro. Okay, now long story short, come to find out now that they're no good for you. All right, I was getting at the last time I had them, they were giving me a 30-day supply of them because they were coming.
Oh my god. I couldn't even take 4 days one time. ironically, when I had a kidney infection.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was about 25 years ago, and I'll tell you what, I will never put one of those in my mouth again because I
No.
got really sick.
So this is like I said, the learning curve.
Mhm.
Learning how to get up out of a chair. Okay. And then they said, well, right now your prostate kind of swollen. You know, here is here's the other side of the coin. But
Yeah.
so far, knock wood, everything seems to be pretty good. But just learning how to deal with it, learning yourself how to maneuver.
And get
Uh,
in and out of chairs, when you said that, bed was a big deal. I also think it's important to note that I felt like it was important to live as normal of a life as I could. I didn't know how long it was going to take to heal. 6 to 8 weeks. They said take off 6 to 8 weeks of work, and
mhm,
then and you have a couple of follow ups and all that. And every morning I got out of bed as soon as I was cleared to take a shower. Every morning I took a shower, did my hair. I don't always put makeup on anyway, so I did or I didn't, whatever I was in the mood to do. And I set myself a timer, and this is all for healing purposes. And
mhm,
I'm going to stop right now just so that we can put out this disclaimer. Tom and I are not medical professionals in any way, shape, or form. We are Americans who had cancer, somewhat common cancers, and we're just talking about our experience in hopes that we help people who are either going through it or know somebody going through it who can just kind of navigate through and know that you are not alone. And maybe some of the tips we learned along the way would be helpful
yeah.
for, like getting in and out of a chair, getting in and out of bed, the simple things that we all take for granted. So, anyway, we are not doctors. This is just two cancer patients talking.
Yep,
But
exactly.
when you said that about the chairs, um, again, I'm tall, and so chairs tend to be low for me. And so I had pillows on the chair, and I would go into the living room or the family room during the day. Sometimes I'd sit at the dining room table because standing up for a long period of time, right? It gets uncomfortable
Hmm.
after you've had major surgery. So, anyway, I would set an alarm every hour on my trusty phone, and I would get up, and I had a Fitbit on. And hello, Sharon McKee. Good to see you in here. Um, I had a Fitbit, and so every day I would add more and more and more steps. And we don't have a huge house, but I remember doing a figure eight from my bedroom because that's the furthest point, up and around the dining room table. And then I would graduate into adding the kitchen and doing a couple laps around the galley kitchen and then back again. But I got myself up to about 5,000 steps in the first week, which I thought was commendable for being stuck in the house. And but yeah, sitting in it, getting in and out of chairs, I found a way, and it was putting a couple of low pillows, like throw pillows on
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Making sure you have handles that you can grab onto, so that you're not completely straining all of your muscles and everything, and not plopping down into anything, because as much as it would feel good to do that, it would hurt the minute you land.
Yeah.
I bet you probably ran into that as
Oh yeah.
well.
Oh yeah. 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 I had. The funny part was they told me to hydrate myself. Keep hydrating yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I drank so much water, I felt like I was, you know, feeling like seasick, almost like you get that.
Yeah.
You can
You can
actually
OD
over.
on water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then I said, the more I drink, the more I got to go in, and give that. I felt Marie at one point said, "You sound like Fred Flintstone." Well, you would have to, do, yelling because it hurt when I peed.
Yeah.
Okay, and she said, if you just would say yabba dabba do, I don't think people in a restaurant anything would look at you like you're crazy.
They
You
probably
know.
think you're nuts.
So, and there again, also limiting myself to where I could go, what I could do. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
that too was with the same here with me. Um, and like they wanted me to use stool softeners and stuff like that. And thankfully, there was a lady who worked in the doctor's office, and she gave me like a tip sheet, handy little tips for after you have surgery that they would gather from other patients.
Yeah.
Because the doctor can know what's going to happen, and their staff, they can clinically, they can know what's going to happen, and they can know what they're watching for and everything else. But they've never actually lived with it. They've never
Yeah.
had to navigate the nuances, I guess, of living and having to just get back to normal and get your muscles back to normal. And she suggested this on this tip sheet. This gal suggested using a tea called Smooth Move. And I have never had to use a stool softener because that tea is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And you can make it as strong or weak as you need to, but it works naturally with your body. And that was a lifesaver for me because my diet was super limited when I came home. No raw vegetables, no fruit, um, no nothing with skin, no meat. So I was basically I could have like noodle soups, and I could have
Hmm.
carrots and stuff in it. But I tried to keep away from celery, which is natural for chicken soup, right? You got to have
Hmm.
that. And I ate a lot of mashed potatoes, which I pre-prepared and froze. So I ate mashed potatoes, gravy, sweet mashed potatoes, sweet
Hmm.
mashed potatoes that were in the oven. And I still love those foods to this day. I feel like they healed me and they made me come through, but they're not full of bulk, and they don't help your body to rid itself of waste. So that tea was just a part of my regimen as well.
Yeah. And later on,
Uh-huh.
once I started maneuvering around, I would say like after the third or fourth surgery that I had, they started me with juicing, because that's we'll get into that a couple podcasts down. Um, but putting the natural juice and stuff in there didn't in the beginning didn't help.
Right. Well,
Did
and,
not
and
help.
juice is acidic too. I never.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah.
Oh.
So there again, I mean, it's a learning curve for me also to turn around and say, hey, well, what can I have? So just water. I had just water and or tea. I would have
Mm-hmm.
some tea, and just to keep it. I tell you one thing. I lost weight. Not a boatload, but I did lose some weight, so that made things easier getting in and out of the chairs and stuff.
Oh, that's
And
good.
once I got away from the bag, and I was pretty good. So I would roll every after surgery, 180 days, okay, and then go back and get checked. Boom, we found a couple more. We got to schedule another surgery, and that's how I kept going like that. So
Wow.
each time I would go through this process over and over and over again to the point where I was discouraged with it, you know. But with that said, you learn how to live with it because screen side up is better than the other way.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hey, you guys, we got people coming in. Hi, we got Dale and Nana have come in, and Sharon from Mississippi, and my beautiful cousin Jennifer.
Hello,
She's adorable.
hello
Um,
everyone.
and this is great though, to be able to talk about it. And so when you said that about water, I think that water is kind of underrated because I think water really does help us all to heal and flush our bodies out. And it even helps us to go, both ways, number one and
Mm-hmm.
number two.
Yeah.
So it is just so important to remember that. And, we won't talk about this today, but eventually I do want to. We've talked a little bit about diets and everything. And I just feel like that's so important to get the word out there, about what we're putting into our bodies, what we're exposed to, and things like that. But
This is why
probably, yeah,
this is why I became the keto cook.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly.
And our environment around us, right? We have to be careful about just the things that we allow ourselves to be exposed to. And for a minute I'll talk about people with chickens. I had chickens up until up until I was almost finished with my first round of chemotherapy. And I would dust them with food grade diatomaceous earth. I would put it in their bedding,
Hmm.
and I would put it in their feed to keep critters from being in parasites in their bodies and from being on their skin and everything. And it tells you to put a dust mask on, but that's uncomfortable when you're out working around stuff. And we all need to keep in mind to do those things. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to chase a squirrel, but I do want to always remind people about being aware of everything that you're doing at every moment of what you're doing. Because here I was healing and going in and out and taking care of chickens and not necessarily protecting my own body at the same time,
Right.
you know?
Now we both. Well, I started out, like I said, I started out real young cooking. All right, and uh, when I got older, I was kind of infatuated with trucks. Okay, so
Mhm.
I was like 20, maybe 20 or 21 years old, and I started working tractor trailer hauling gasoline, diesel fuel, and two local gas stations at Exxon, and would go there, and they would make sure that you had these big, thick rubber gloves that
Yes.
you handled everything because you didn't want that to absorb into your body, the
Hmm.
gasoline. And back when I, back when I'm showing my age, but back when I was doing lead gasoline was still in working. So you
Hmm.
had regular, then unleaded started coming in. So talking to my doctor, I said, how did this happen? Plus, I was a heavy cigarette smoker. All right, so everybody
Yeah,
thinks,
I can see you driving down the road with your gas tank.
yeah, I did. Throw that out the
Oh
window.
my god.
So yeah, but
Oh,
I
that's
mean, sometimes
horrible.
yeah, exactly right. But he said, yeah, he said that can absorb into your skin, and that could also work that way. He said, plus you were a heavy smoker,
Hmm.
and any kind of harsh chemicals or even gases. So after I stopped driving, all right, I went back into the restaurant business. So I had said before, we would stand under a hood, and under this hood there was an air curtain, fresh air
Uh-huh.
that would blow down on you, so it would actually be on my back. All right, and then you had the suction taking the fumes up. So we had a couple big gas stoves, and from the natural gas, especially for commercial, the
Uh-huh.
BTUs were very high, but you were inhaling that natural gas stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, because you're in that curtain, so you're in a vortex,
Yeah.
taking the stuff
And
right
it's
up there.
just going into your body before it
Yeah,
hits that.
yeah. Until I retired, and then that's just when all this stuff started happening to me. But I had something else. I had wanted to ask the doctor, and I used to do a lot of baking. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
and being type 2 diabetic, mixing the flour. Did that get into my pores or into my skin? Did I breathe that in? Also,
Oh,
did that have something to do with it?
those
You
are
know what I
fine
mean?
particles. Yeah. When you said that about driving a truck, I drove a truck too. I drove a semi
Mm-hmm.
cross country as a
Mm-hmm.
young woman, and my hands used to always break out. And back then, this was in the late '80s, early '90s. When you fueled, you'd get a free pair of gloves. Woo, at the truck stop. But it was easier to fuel the truck without wearing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my hands were constantly broken out. I mean, the diesel would make your skin just break into little cracks and stuff. And
Right.
I always attributed it to just having sensitive skin. But I did that for years and I never wore
Mm-hmm.
gloves. I did wear gloves when I went in to check the oil, just because it was kind of greasy underneath the hood of the truck.
Hey, Bat.
Hey, Bat, thank you for
So
coming in.
so that was my negativity towards what I had. That was, remember I said last time
Like
about
you blamed it on somebody.
blaming on everybody else. But he
Yeah, and
said to me,
I blamed it on myself for
yeah.
smoking, and I blamed it on myself for not, I mean, when you're driving a truck, you're kind of a slave to the fast food case.
Mm-hmm.
And we took as much food as we could. We would start out, we'd be gone for like 2 to 3 weeks at a time. So
Right.
you'd start out with all the best intentions and everything. And you'd pack up your cooler because we didn't have refrigerators or any of that kind of stuff. No cell phones, nothing. And so you'd start out with really good food and you'd end up, eating fried burritos or chicken gizzards or whatever was available at 2:30 in the morning at the Flying J truck stop.
Yeah.
And that became my diet. So I did blame a lot of it on my own diet, and it probably had a lot to do with it. But I got cancer decades after I drove a truck.
Yeah.
But I think that did start it probably did start the ball rolling. I did smoke. Um, I
I smoked 5 packs a day.
That just blows my mind. That just
Yeah.
blows my mind. My most smoking maybe was a pack a day, and that's when I was driving because I was not around other people.
That was probably that many cigarettes that I was smoking at that time was probably a year before I was diagnosed. Because I just had stuff piling on me as far as stress, selling my house, moving to North Carolina, changing things up, and I just kept eating them,
Right.
and the doctor said that basically the main reason. It's just not in your lungs; it'll settle there.
Mhm.
But
Oh, it
also,
goes everywhere.
yeah, also he said stress and lifestyle. Your lifestyle, he said, was just you were. Uh, I don't know. He says I don't know how to explain it to you, but uh, you did it yourself.
Right.
You brought it upon yourself. So that's when it clicked with me to say, okay, yeah, let's take care of business now. So
Right.
with that said, we go to North Carolina now. I'm just had a couple surgeries done, and all of a sudden I became a farmer because what we did was we actually lived off of whatever we grew, and Marie grew everything, and that's what we ate. That's actually everything we did was
Yeah.
do it
And we
that
did
way.
the same thing after my first surgery. I mean, okay, so JJ, I think, felt super helpless, right? What can I do? What can I do to make her healthier? What can I do to make sure she stays this way,
Yeah.
stays cancer free? And he went outside, and I kind of joked with him. It made my heart so happy. Okay, but I kind of joked with him. He was like the Winchester, Mrs. Winchester, but with garden beds. Because he went out and he cleared an area that we already had set aside
Yeah.
for gardening, and he built raised beds. And they weren't super high raised beds, but everything was defined and everything was clean. And he spent every day after work for like 5 months running in the garden doing things and having it ready so that I got the fun gardening, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go out and harvest, or I could go out and pluck a few weeds and sit down, and I like to go out in the garden and just I take my little bows out, get some music on, or take a radio and just sing out loud. I'm so sorry, neighbors, if you're watching. Um, and I'll just sit and sing and just get into a zone, you know?
Yeah.
And but he built bed after bed after bed in the garden, or he was planting more trees, like citrus trees.
I I mean we grew Brussels sprouts. I even planted peanuts. Okay,
That's so funny.
but I couldn't bend over.
Mm.
So what I did was I planted corn. Matter of fact, it was 658 corn kernels that I planted.
Oh, oh my god.
Living out in the middle of nowhere. So what I did was I got a piece of PVC pipe, okay, and I cut the bottom of it on an angle, okay, so it
Mhm.
could spear it into the ground. And then I had a funnel, and I had my bag with the seeds, and I would put the seeds up into the funnel, drop them in, boom, one at a time. And that's how I know I had 658. And
Oh
that's
my gosh.
yeah, it was silver white corn we grew. I mean, Brussels sprouts, all that kind of stuff. So naturally, turning around and feeling better of what
Yes.
we were doing.
And
That
you were
was
physically active.
right, and that was the thing that brought me up out of the cellar with it. Oh, I'm gonna die. And my neighbor down the street, he said to me, Tom, we're all gonna die. I said, yeah, but I don't want to go right now. You know, so that helped. The neighbors were really good. Everybody, just that lifestyle, I think, was away from all the hectic nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of worked with it. And we would barter with things, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
tell you, the one guy would bring me up a flat of eggs, and at the time I was juicing. We give him the residuals from the juice for the chickens,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, whatever leaves we had from like cabbages or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's cool that you had a farm. I mean, we live on a quarter acre, so like we had our urban
Hmm.
farm. That's actually when we started doing YouTube as well because I wanted to preserve family recipes because I didn't know how long I'd be around.
Hmm.
And then also to start some gardening and stuff. And if our early videos you see either cooking or gardening, that was pretty much it because I didn't talk about this.
Yeah, I never.
Um,
When I started
yeah.
keto is when we
Uh-huh.
moved to Florida,
Okay.
and they sent me. I went and seen the urologist there, and they said, "Look, everything looks pretty good." They gave me the green light in North Carolina, but when we went down there, I go every 90 days to get checked. Everything looks pretty good. We're not out of the woods, but you're still going. So I carried. I think it was like in 21. I think I was when I was told you're in the clear. We haven't seen
So
anything.
you in all of this healing and I commend you for switching doctors because I am addicted to my own doctors and we've talked about moving. We've talked about moving to a place where we have more property, where it's less congested, all of that type of thing. And the idea of leaving the medical team that I so depend on, I couldn't do it. But I mean, like, you packed up and moved and relocated and everything while you were going through all of these treatments?
Twice.
Oh, see, I couldn't do that. That's brave. That's really brave.
Well, you had said something before. You didn't know how long you were going to be there, so you wanted to start making them videos and stuff. How long you were
Yeah.
going to be around? That's always in the back of my mind. I am to the point now, and like I said, I'm a geezer now. I'm an old geezer, but but I keep in the back of my mind. It could be anything. You can get hit by a bus, so you got to make the
Yeah.
best of it. You got to make the
I do
best of
look
it.
at life that way now. Every day is the present and the present is a gift, right?
Yeah, I mean, and this we didn't discuss too much. So I started my channel, cooking. You know, low carb and the first name was keto cooking for diabetes.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
that was the first the first round, the first couple videos I did, and then I said, you know what, I really got to start getting into why exactly why, and I was a little hesitant, really was. Every once in a while, I would spit it out that I had, was dealing with bladder cancer and stuff like that. But I didn't want to get into that realm because I don't know if anybody would have wanted to listen to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
And it's a vulnerable place to be because you will I was surprised. Now, Dale and Nana are in here, 9 Acre Family
yeah,
Farms.
yeah.
Um, Dale, I saw you one time and you're talking with your buddies on a Friday night, and I'm editing a video, and I used to listen to you guys because it was just like being with cousins and friends and uncles and all that. Well, Dale, I'm gonna rat you out here. Dale had shared that his father had had colon cancer. And so for both of you, I remember emailing each one of you and saying, "Oh my goodness gracious." And that's what started me to thinking. This was years ago.
Hmm.
But eventually, and it was about a year and a few months ago, I finally thought, you know what? Why don't we talk about this?
Right.
We can go Google and see, different things like the clinical stuff that's available and the slickly packaged shows and everything. But I wanted to talk to people who had lived through it and who would really, really talk about the nitty gritty of it. And so that's why I like doing this. But um, I don't know what do you think?
I the, the fact was that there's more and more people right now, okay, that are coming out and saying, "Yeah, I have cancer. I have this." I have one friend talking back and forth, and I found out he's got one lung because of lung cancer.
And you didn't even know?
Didn't have no clue.
Yeah.
So, to me, with my one channel,
Uh-huh.
the Sunday dinner chef, I cook everything. everything on it, but nobody realizes. But Marie eats it. So if I make macaroni or something like that, or homemade pasta,
Mhm.
she'll have that, and I try to stay away from it because that'll, just for other reasons. Okay,
Yeah.
but on the keto channel now, I just cook clean. All right,
Right.
no other additives and stuff like that. And somebody says, "Well, why don't you do that?" I said, "Because some of that stuff can become toxic, and I'm vulnerable with cancer. It never goes away.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's sitting in, somewhere in our system, whatever. So if they come to determine that if you have a high sugar, high carbohydrate diet,
Hmm.
you'll produce cancer. They thrive on it. So
Right.
once they're learning
Sugar
now,
feeds cancer, and I will always believe that that
and
is the truth.
once you get into ketosis, that sort of shuts it down. So they're starting to learn that a little bit more. There's more and more studies coming up about Alzheimer's with it. But the point I'm trying to make is we are so addicted to sugar
Hmm.
as a country, all right? And there's
Hmm.
more people that have a cancer or afflicted by it
Hmm.
somehow or another. Like my one friend with no lung only has one lung. I know people with one kidney and stuff like that. And it's all I deep down inside believe it's from our diet.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh
you know,
yeah. And after we have surgery, we can circle right back to our first surgeries. You do make changes.
yeah,
I didn't have diabetes until I went through chemotherapy. That's
bingo.
what, and it turned it on like a switch. But the chemotherapy ultimately saved, my life. I will still believe that it helped me to prolong my life to get to a healthier place. And I've done it 4 times. So, yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But changing your diet really does make a difference. And where I said my first diet was relegated, thank you for putting that up. Yeah, yeah, Sharon, I think we both feel you on that.
Yep.
But I changed my diet and it was high starch because it was like one of the only things I could have was that type of food.
Yeah.
With no meat, I could have chicken broth, but I couldn't have chicken soup. I eat a lot of mushrooms too, and I still love mushrooms.
Yeah. Mushrooms.
I wish I could figure out how to grow mushrooms.
Mushrooms are fine. I go to an Asian store and I get them dried. I get the dried shiitake mushrooms. They're freeze dried
Yeah,
and it just rehydrate them. I use them. Yeah, I can store them forever and just go on from there.
yeah.
The one thing that the doctor, after the first or second surgery that I had, he said to me, "Life is going to change for you now."
Mhm.
So he said, "Suck it up, saddlebags." He said, "Because this is going to be a road that you never thought ever in your life you were going to go down." He said,
Right,
"Either you're going to do it or you're not.
right.
That's it."
I won't give up. I mean, I was athletic as a young person, and I am competitive in nature, and there's no way I was gonna let this beat me. Although there were a few times where you get sad, you get down in the dumps. I When I had my surgery, they said, "Okay, it looks like we got everything. You probably won't need chemo." And lo and behold, I did need to do chemo because it was further along than they thought. It had just started to hit outside of my colon wall. And there was like a spot. I had a spot on my ovary. And so it was like, well, we'll just, we'll keep an eye on it. Well, that tiny spot that was like a piece of sand. And I thought, oh, that's nothing,
Mm-mm.
became 10 centimeters 10 months later.
Yep.
And that was I ended up having to have a hysterectomy from that one. But that's when I went from stage like 2, barely stage 2 to stage 4 within a year because it had spread to a totally different place.
Yep.
And hey, once again, that's where this little baby came in handy.
Yeah.
But
I wish I had something like that, but then uh, the whole idea was with my surgery was I guess invasive. They went
yeah,
into the organ, I guess, and
straight in though. And that's yeah, for me it was invasive, but it wasn't the way the entry point was through my abdomen.
right, right,
Right? So it was one and done. They did it and then they were finished. And for you walked around with the surgery in a way for weeks at a time.
yeah. And when they said we're going to start a treatment for you, now I explained, I think on our second video, that they started me with this stuff called BCG. I have the name. I don't want to butcher it right now, but it was for tuberculosis back in the day. Okay, it was almost like a vaccine that they gave people to kill tumors, and so it was sort of that and a chemo wash is what they called it.
Hmm.
So one round was 6 weeks long, like I said, and I did 6 rounds, and that's when they told me can't give it to you no more. You have type 2 diabetes now, and I was like, what? So that in the beginning, the first like the 3 surgeries were like almost like a test for me to give up.
Right.
I can't do this no more. This is crazy.
Right.
Uh, uh, you know, what's going on? Blah 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 blah. But that little guy on the side over here, he stands there, come over and kicked me in the neck and said, "You ain't giving up.
And that's right.
It's
You
not
got
your
too much
nature.
to live for.
It's not your nature. It's not
Yep.
your nature."
Yeah.
So that was a good wake up call for me, and I'm still to this day I'm still cautious about it. If I
Yeah.
have any kind of little bit of pain or whatever, and then once in a while I'll do a I call it like almost like a kidney cleanse. I'll do apple cider vinegar, some baking soda, and eight to 16 ounces of water, and I'll drink that, and that'll that'll flush my kidneys out, give me a little wash to the bladder, and also this is going to sound nuts, and also either eat asparagus or juice asparagus.
Uh-huh. I
Because
love asparagus.
you know what? If you ever notice, once you eat asparagus and you urinate,
It
it
makes you go
smells
to the bathroom and it turns that greenish yellow color.
and has a funny smell to it. So then you know everything's working. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's little things
We
that
grow
I
asparagus and and not a huge patch or anything. But yeah, we're asparagus hounds, and all those little things that we do put into our bodies,
mhm.
natural chemicals versus, the harsh chemicals,
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
yeah,
It really
yeah,
is. Within
and
moderation, of course. We can't live on asparagus alone.
yeah. I mean, and what happens with people is they get the cure, or they think
Mhm.
they're cured or whatever, and now I go back to square one again. I go back to where I
Yeah,
was. Yeah, and it's
can't do
like,
that. Can't do that. In
mm,
fact, I just had my physical yesterday with my regular doctor, my annual physical. And, where our questions used to be, so what kind of a job do you have? And what do you do? And do you get exercise? Now, what are you eating? How much are you exercising? And like he goes into great detail now. And he told me, he said, you came through something that a lot of people don't come through. And you've been given a second lease on life. And I do not ever want you to forget that. So you've
that's right.
got to keep yourself healthy. And with the diabetes, that is our main focus right now is the diabetes
Right.
because you could fight, 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 and then all of the sudden, if you let your guard down, Sharon, yes, start eating asparagus. It's very
Yeah,
good.
it's very good for you. Matter of fact, when I go to the doctor now, or if I go to the specialist, and they'll ask me about my diet, I tell them just watch my video. Go on YouTube and watch my videos. They'll tell you
There you go.
exactly what I eat.
Yeah,
Exactly what I eat. So yeah, it's
exactly.
you got to make the determination with it. In the beginning, it's scarier than hell because as soon as you hear the word
It
cancer,
is.
it that correlates with death. Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to crawl. I mean, I did. I took a day or two to just process it and lay low, because hearing those words are bad enough, and you always think it isn't going to happen to you. In fact, I got to share this with you. Our youngest son had appendicitis and had to go to the hospital and have his appendix out. And a couple days, he was in the hospital for a few days. So we're going back to the hospital, and as we're going into the parking structure, as you're going straight ahead, there's the cancer center. This is going way back. This is like 2007, 2008. And I looked over at JJ and I said, "Oh my God, could you imagine having to go to that place and that's part of your life?"
Yeah.
Guess where I go now? Every few months I go there for a checkup. And am I so thankful that it's there? Absolutely. And I had no idea what went on behind those closed doors at the time.
Hmm.
But that's where I went for radiation. That's where I go to meet my oncologist, everything.
Yeah.
But I I'm grateful for everything that we have around us, and I'm grateful for friends like you. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for friends that we don't even know out here. And I also feel like having gone through it gives you a different perspective on life that maybe we would have taken for granted before.
Yeah. I would go and uh-oh, I'm being watched. I would go to and to get my treatment. My treatment was a lot different than you would, a regular way of getting chemo, if that's,
Yes.
you know. So in the waiting room, I would turn around and see it was a pretty good sized office. I would say maybe 50 chairs maybe in the place,
Mhm.
and packed with people standing.
'Cause they couldn't because of the pain.
Because of the cancers and stuff. This urologist I had, that's all he dealt with was bladder cancer, bladder, kidney, and prostate is exactly what he did. So I'm sitting there, I'm saying, "Good God Almighty, look at the amount of these people that are here." And you can see the look on some people's faces that they just, you know what, they're giving up. They just give
Mhm.
up, had enough. So just stop and think about it. Between the both of us, uh, our functions, what we have to do. You with colon cancer, me with bladder cancer. That's a
Mhm.
function that happens to everybody,
Yeah.
everybody around the world. Okay, a couple
Yep.
times a day or whatever. Ours was restricted or worse.
Right.
So
But
it,
we've
that
but we've lived through it, and I think so many people have. I
yeah.
really do.
But it's a
Yeah,
shame. It's a shame that you see that many people, you
it
know,
is.
going through it.
And that's one
Uh,
of the things we are I think eventually we're gonna start focusing in on those diet and stress ways to relieve stress because stress in itself, even with a better great diet and exercise and everything,
hmm
if you internalize all of the negativity and God knows, I mean, I don't we live in a negative world, but we always have. It depends on how you kind of look at things
Yeah.
and what you listen to, you
And
know.
in that case also, Michelle, that's how I don't push my channel or what I do on anybody. I
Mhm.
put it up and say, here's what I do. Here's how I eat. I eat clean. I don't like nothing from a box. Anything that says keto friendly on it, I stay away from because you know what? It's garbage. It's manipulated.
Mhm.
That way. So with that said, 6 years now, I haven't had a problem with worrying about cancers or anything else like that.
Yeah.
So is that am I never going to have it? I can't say that. You know,
But when
but
you break down, do you ever break down? I do. I will say right now, filet of fish at McDonald's is one of my favorite sandwiches, and it is
oh
nothing but garbage.
yeah,
And I'd say maybe every 5 or 6 months, I will go over there and I'll get a filet of fish. Oh, I just need to have one, and I feel like crap for 3 days. 3 days
exactly,
after
exactly.
eating the sandwich that my taste buds really want,
Yeah,
but my body flat out rejects.
yeah,
So I'm trying to find ways that, non-fried and all that, and making things like that at home because every now and again I do really want to enjoy a memory or something, but anymore it's not worth 3 days of absolute misery after having something like
yeah.
that.
Well, I
But
guess we're getting ready to come to the end of this here,
yeah,
and you want any closing words or anything, or
well, I do want to say I'm really glad we're doing this. This is our third time, and this is our first live session. I would truly like for everybody who's in here now, or if you watch this later, and thank you all of you for doing that. Um, do you like the live format? Because Tom and I have talked about maybe going live once a month, but sometimes when we have time in the evenings, we'll record a session and put it up on a Saturday. And thank you, Marie. And but we are to this weekend, right, Tom? This weekend, we're going to take all of our discussions and we're actually going to create a podcast. And I'm super excited about that
Yep. Yep.
because I find myself, I really enjoy listening to podcasts when I'm on the road or if I'm at work and I'm just quietly doing something I can plug in. I love listening to conversations. And so I invite everybody to do that and share it. If you know somebody who can't watch TV all the time, like your truck driving friends, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
or if you are also on the road, listen to the podcast because the two of us can talk, don't you think?
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah. I feel like a controller needle sometimes. I want
Oh,
to
but
thank
I'm excited.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody. This is I mean, how me and Michelle came about this was we both found out that we had cancer. So
Mhm.
why not let's talk about it. Get more people involved in it.
Yep.
If you're just first starting out, yeah, you have to be scared. Yeah, you have to make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's, and everything else like that. But there is sunshine at the end of it. At the end of it, you do the right thing, and you'll come through it pretty much. There
And
again,
having your community. We are now becoming a community where we can talk about it. And I think being able to talk about it openly and honestly just is it's so helpful because it's like therapy, you know?
yeah, I agree, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We didn't know it was going to be live either, really, until last night.
Yeah, we had some conflicting times that that went on and stuff like that. Uh, but this is great. I'm glad to see so many people. We had at one point we had I believe 11 people in.
That's
So
awesome. That
yeah,
is
very good.
awesome. Thank you guys. So
Okay.
listen for the podcast, right? This week.
Yep.
And every Saturday, one way or another, every Saturday, look for us at 10 o'clock on either channel. And I appreciate your friendship, Tom, Marie's
Hmm.
friendship,
Exactly.
everybody in the chat. You guys are so awesome.
We are going. It's the podcast is going to be on YouTube Music to start with
Mhm.
until we work out the kinks to go anywhere
Until
else.
somebody picks us up because we're so stinking awesome.
Look at this. Okay, everybody. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it, Michelle. Love you to death, kiddo.
I love you. See you later,
And
everybody.
all right, take care.
Be kind.